We are following breaking news at this hour. Take a look at the video on your screen, courtesy of Israeli Defense Forces. They say on their X page, these are not fireworks you see in that sky. They are celebrating the holiday of Shavuot. These are actually aerial defense systems defending our civilians against a barrage of Hezbollah rockets in northern Israel. So you're getting that video here, raw and unfiltered. You see that there in the sky. I actually want to pot up the audio so you can listen in as this unfolded. Approximately 160 projectiles were identified crossing from Lebanon into northern Israel a short while ago. Several fell in various locations, causing fires to break out, and a number of projectiles were intercepted by IDF. Joining us live this morning to break down this news alert, none other than national security expert Ken Gray. Good morning to you. Always a pleasure having you here on Live Now.
Good morning, Janae. Glad to be back with you again.
Glad to have you. So we saw in that video a celebration underway, and in the night sky you look up, you would think those were fireworks as a part of the celebration, but no, it was actually a defense mechanism to stop Hezbollah attacks. If you could catch us up, please.
Sure. So what we were seeing was the action of the Iron Dome. The Iron Dome consists of missile barrages fired to take out incoming missiles, a radar system that tracks these incoming missiles, and a fire control computer that is able to determine which missiles coming in are the biggest threats and which ones are going to hit into empty spaces. And so these three components together work to try to protect Israel from incoming missiles. Hezbollah fired a total of 170 missiles into Israel in two different groups, one with 90 missiles coming in, followed by another group of 70 missiles. The IDF launched sorties into southern Lebanon to take out the missile launchers, and so that also was a part of the response, not only the Iron Dome, but also the IDF coming back in to strike at the missile launchers. But this is yet another part of the increased activity along the northern border of Israel into Lebanon, which has been waxing and waning as far as its intensity. This is the second largest group of missiles that have been launched by Lebanon by Hezbollah into Israel. So things are heating up there along the northern border.
So glad you noted that. I was actually going to ask you, I mean, my goodness, they're saying approximately 160 projectiles, so it could be more if the video isn't compelling enough. Hearing that number and knowing how certain areas have been evacuated because of that, how do you expect people to move forward? Obviously on edge this morning, celebrating a holiday, and then seeing that in the night sky. If you look at the video, Ken, you can see young people, they're out there on lawn chairs, what you would see at a celebration here with loved ones. And then that happening, you see people under the age of 10 there scrambling with their parents.
Yeah. So this is a threat that Israel has going on at all times here during this conflict, and also outside the term, this period of time of conflict with Hamas. There was a previous report of 50 missiles being launched into the Golan Heights. Whether that was part of this large barrage or if that was a separate group of missiles that were launched, I'm not sure. But nonetheless, Israel has developed the system of the Iron Dome to protect them against this kind of influx of missiles. The problem is that the Iron Dome has only so many missiles in these batteries that are ready there to take out incoming missiles, and it's possible for that defense system to be oversaturated with incoming missiles. And when that happens, then missiles will go on to launch and then find their eventual targets. So as long as the number stayed down at this level, this is something the Iron Dome can handle. If it goes above that level, then the Iron Dome may not be able to provide protection against these incoming missiles. But as I say, this has been a threat that has been going on throughout this entire period of conflict here in the Gaza Strip. And, this is something that was developed even before this war.
Absolutely. And speaking of missile strikes, I changed the shot there. Southern Israel looking into Gaza. You can see there in the distance, Ken, more missile strikes related to the Israel-Hamas war. Speaking of all of this going on simultaneously, this seems very calculated by Hezbollah. We know that Israel and Hamas are currently under ceasefire negotiations. And just as you mentioned yesterday, as soon as Israel starts to pivot their eyes onto one thing, that's when Hezbollah and these other terrorist organizations try to attack.
Yes, as I mentioned yesterday, the West Bank is also heating up. And so there's a lot more action on the part of Israel, of the IDF, and of police forces trying to respond to attacks there in the West Bank. The West Bank is part of this coalition of forces, part of the axis of resistance here. And just as you say, it's somewhat orchestrated in that the Houthis will get active, the Hezbollah will get active, the Hamas continues to be active. All of these are being orchestrated by the puppet master over there in Iran. And so Iran is running this axis of resistance. The different groups are free to act on their own, but the tempo, I think, the overall music is being conducted by Iran.
Taking a closer look at those ceasefire negotiations related to the Israel-Hamas war, there was a lot of hope that there would be some type of resolution yesterday as you were discussing those three-part plans, and you know how Hamas was wanting that Palestinian state, and they were basically wanting control over that region, over the Palestinians. We do know that they basically handed it back and said, nope, we want some changes. Break that down for us, Ken. Where does it stand at the moment?
Yeah. So while we have not heard all the specific details, what we do know is that Hamas has basically rejected the plan in its current form. They want more specifics about a permanent ceasefire in there. They want to change the timeline for that permanent ceasefire. Right now, the plan has a 6-week period for the ceasefire, during which time there's an exchange of hostages for Palestinian prisoners and a partial withdrawal of the IDF. And then a period of time where the bodies are returned of hostages that are already dead, as more humanitarian aid has gotten into the area, and then a transition over to a permanent ceasefire and a setting up of a new government there in the Gaza Strip, which the Palestinian Authority is going to have some type of role within that new government, and providing security for the area, and a return of much more humanitarian aid getting into the Gaza Strip. Hamas has pushed back against this current plan. They have not outright rejected it. However, they do want amendments to this plan. Israel, on the other hand, has viewed their rejection, this requirement for amendments, as a rejection of the plan, that they say Hamas has rejected the plan. Prime Minister Netanyahu is under a lot of pressure. He has members within his cabinet that says they will collapse the government if he signs off on this plan. And he has other people within the government, or previously within the government, Benny Gantz and Lapid have both, the head of the opposition party, have both urged Netanyahu to sign this plan. And so Prime Minister Netanyahu is under a lot of pressure being brought by the United States. The UN has accepted this plan. The Security Council, 14 members have agreed that with this plan. Russia, I believe, abstained in the vote on this, and so there's a lot of pressure to accept this plan. But the two different sides have different goals. Israel to wipe out Hamas, make sure that it's never a threat again inside Israel. Hamas to survive and to get Israel out of the Gaza Strip and to have a permanent ceasefire. And so in reality, those two opposing ultimate goals really will not allow this plan to move forward, in my opinion. But nonetheless, there's an awful lot of pressure on Israel and on Hamas to accept this plan.
Absolutely. And isn't that a part of the process? I mean, with these negotiations, there will be a back and forth, and you would expect Israel to do the same. If they got a proposal and it's like, absolutely not, let's go back to the drawing board. We're not in this war for no reason. And then, obviously, they say this is not a war against the Palestinian people. It's a war against Hamas. So you would also think that they would make sure that the Palestinian people are in some type of better position than before this war started, since they say they're also trying to protect them as well.
It's hard to separate Hamas from the Palestinian people. When we saw the rescue operation there, getting the hostages out of the Gaza Strip, it turns out that some of the hostages were being held by a journalist who was a civilian, but he was being used to hold hostages. So was that Hamas? Was he Hamas? Or was he just supporting Hamas? It's very difficult to separate Hamas from the Palestinian civilians. We saw that during the attack where a journalist was part of the group that went into Israel to take those hostages. So again, this is a very messy situation. I think that we saw the negotiations that was being conducted there in Qatar moved to Egypt and now is being imposed by the United States. This is a proposal that has continually been shifting as far as the details of it, but the overall details still remain that you have two opposing sides: Hamas, who wants Israel out of Gaza Strip and out of the West Bank, and you have Israel that wants to neutralize Hamas. And again, those two things can't happen, but nonetheless, that is what is being proposed in this ceasefire agreement that is being imposed upon the two.
Ken Gray, always a pleasure having you here on Live Now from Fox, and we definitely appreciate you breaking down that news alert that came in early this morning. Before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that all eyes will be on the details here, whether or not the ceasefire agreement will be amended or whether it will fall apart.
Ken Gray, thank you again for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.